Hello Triple Plus gamers. If you have been following along with this playlist, then you have learned how to get started with Roll20. You've learned about Session 0, and so for this video I want to show you how to start populating your campaign with maps. Go! This is addressed to you. My friends call me Ad because I am so damn positive. And we are going to be getting into Roll20 and maps. There's a lot to go over with maps, so let's just go ahead and do it. Let me switch over to my live screen. Boa bam. And here we are. Okay, so you can see here that if you have the Pro plan with Roll20, you can get free map packs. I'll also show you how to pull in your own. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to launch the game. Here's that awesome splash page. No, this isn't the splash page. Bamboozled. This is the awesome splash page. So that's a good thing for you guys to realize. The last page that you were on as a GM is a page that will get loaded up. So your players right here, you can see with this yellow banner or red banner, they're on the landing page, but I was on this random tavern battle page. So let's go ahead and do that random battle tavern page. So I'm going to zoom out so we can see more of it. So this takes up the entire space, but let's go ahead and look at the settings. So you can change the size and width. So if you pull in something that's maybe too big or too small, you can adjust that here and you won't have the image cropped. Background color is good if you've got like an odd shaped map, or if you want to say have some space on the side for players to jot down notes. What that does is it gives you a little bit of space. I personally recommend going with like a tan or parchment color. White sometimes just doesn't, I don't know, I feel like it's really distracting. You could also go with some of these grays. Black is a little bit too dark in my opinion, so I typically go with this one right here, this nice parchment color. Makes it really easy to see all of the text colors and makes it easy to delineate what part is map and what part is just side panel or sidebar. Space grid distance, so you can, this always messes with me, so let's just go ahead and before we get into that, we won't be interrupted by any notifications anymore. So if you look over here, you're going to see what looks like a ruler inside of a circle. You can snap to center, so what's going to happen here is you're going to see, wait, hold on, I gotta click on it, there you go. You see how it's measuring from the center of that square to the center of this square, and that's 15 feet. So we've got 5 feet here, 5 feet there. If I change it to snap to corner, same thing, but you see here it's snapping to the nearest corner where I'm clicking. That's good for line of sight. So let's say we have somebody who's shooting, let's say these doors are open, and you've got a player right here and they want to shoot at someone over here. Do they have line of sight? Well, they can hit this corner, they can hit that corner, but they cannot hit these corners back here. So that can help you with line of sight kinds of things. And then no snapping is it just wherever you click. So what does this have to do with the map? Well, you can see here, I'm going to set it to snap to, you can see here that it's measuring 5-foot spaces, and that's very traditional. But let's say that you had a map that had different grid sizes. You can set it to be that one grid size is, say, 0.5 feet. So let's see what that looks like. So I set it to 0.5. Look at that. Now it's 0.5 feet. In order to get to 5 feet, you basically have to go up this many squares, right? So that can be useful if you're pulling in maps designed by other people that have that maybe big maps. Usually big maps have these different grid sizes. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set that back to 1 square is equal to 5 feet, not 1 foot. You also have these options here. You can set it to be a square. You can set it to be a hex. So decide what kind of hexes you want. You can see the orientation is slightly different. I haven't messed with that. This is the only thing that I am not sure about. I always try to set it to whatever the game system I'm in. So I think this has something to do with the diagonals. Yeah, controls how diagonals are measured. So the calculations are different between these two systems. So I set it however I would like. Cell width, this will actually change. So I'm going to change this to 2. Let's hit save. And you can see here it's doubled the size of my squares. Again, all of these are just for fine tuning, determined by the size of your maps. Then you can see here it automatically did the calculation that if I wanted to get to 5 feet, I'm talking about half of the grid. And I have something in my eye. Eyelashes are trying to take me out the game, guys. Okay, so let's go ahead and set that back to 1. And let's look at grid opacity. So these are for the grid lines. So right now they're about 50% and they're gray. Pretty easy to see. So let me see, if I set it to black, you can see here they're a lot more stark, a lot more noticeable. And if I set that to, I want to fix that. So if I want to make those black lines a bit more stark, I can do this here. And these can be useful settings depending on like the background color of your map. So if you have like a nighttime or a cave map, you might want to switch it to brighter lines and or maybe a brighter opacity. If you have people who are colorblind, there might be some options for you there. I think they might be able to see the lines no matter what color they are, but it could certainly be challenging depending on what kind of color blindness they have. So let's go ahead and set that back to the gray and about 50% opacity. Actually, let's see what it's like when it's got a lighter opacity. So you can barely see the lines here, but in a lot of ways that's okay because, and we're going to go back to the settings. Wait, I took it back. So it's not in the settings, but let me pull Robin Hood out here. So it's okay that the grids are barely visible here because look, it is snapping to the grid where the token should be. So as players want to move, you can have it so that for the getting real deep immersion, the grid lines are very faint, and the players can still determine what their movement should be. They may have to count, they may have to use some of the tools, and we'll go over some of these token tools in a little bit more depth later on, but you can certainly do something like this if you want deeper immersion in your game. So let's go back to the settings for real this time. You're going to see some settings here for the new dynamic lighting. We'll go over dynamic lighting in the future. You can take a look at here is, you can see here on the map, you can have it play music when it loads up. It's not going to load up for you until you move players over, but we'll talk about some of the audio options that you have in Roll20 a little bit later. So we're just going to go ahead, we're going to save that, and you're going to see when I move this over. You hear that? So, lots and lots of options with maps, and the final thing that I want to show you is how do you create your own map. Well, it's a lot like creating a normal landing page or something like that. So we've got a really blank, we've got something blank here, but let's try to bring something in, and I'm actually going to bring in a map from one of the map packs that I have. Show you something. So let's do the first floor. So you see I dragged it in, I'm on the object layer, it's this small little token. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. And let me show you what happens if I drag it in when I have the map layer selected. See, it's much bigger. Sometimes they can get, they'll load in full size. But one way to tell if you're on the right layer off the bat is whether or not it loads in as a 5-foot token, or if it loads in as a larger image. So here we are, we're on our map size. You can see here I've got my map on the background, and let's see if it matches up. Let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, so it looks like this one matches up pretty well, but you can tell over here we're cutting off just a little bit. So what can we do about that? So we're going to go to the map and background. We are going to set it to be a drawing, because this is going to make aligning it a lot easier. So now the system knows that this is not a token, this is just a drawing. It doesn't have any of the token features. And now we're going to go back to that advanced and go to align to grid. So we're going to start here. We're going to try to set a 3x3, and I think our 3x3 is here. Now some maps do a really great job. Here we go. There you go. You got it. So some maps do a really great job of letting you know what the appropriate grid size is so that you can align it. Unfortunately, this didn't come with a preset grid that I could use, so I kind of have to guesstimate a little bit. And this does a pretty good job. Now I can try to redraw it again and capture this little smidge right here, but I think for the most part this gets us where our players need to be. Now you can see I have a whole lot of white space, and this is a lot smaller, so I could also try to drag this so that it doesn't create so much white space. It gets a little bit tricky when you try to do that, but it is possible. And what I typically like to do is don't let perfect be the enemy of good. And what I might do is go into the page settings. This is pretty close. It looks like we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to reduce the width by 8. There you go. So that's pretty good. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set that background to that parchment color. There we go. So it gives it like a little bit of a border. You can also change it. So I can say here, this is the 7 sawmill. Hit enter. I don't know how many times I've accidentally just clicked off and the name hasn't gotten. So make sure you hit enter. Make sure you hit enter. I'm going to reduce the size of this, and here you go. Here is your map. Now you can put your objects on it. You can do whatever you need to do. So there it is. There's maps. You know, I will show you one more thing. This is bonus content. Don't say I never got you guys anything. So I'm going to show you one more thing with maps. So these are all token maps. Let's say Varicia map. So we're going to take this Varicia map that I have. We're going to make sure we're on the map and background. Well, bam. We're going to set it. We're going to set it to this, and we're going to set it to is drawing. It just makes it a lot easier to work with. And you can see right here it's got this really handy, look at that, look how handy that is. So I'm actually going to go to the token layer so I don't accidentally drag it. This isn't right. This is supposed to be miles, isn't it? Okay, so how do we fix that? So we are going to go to the settings. You can see here grid cell distance. We're going to set that to miles. And now we get to kind of play a little bit with some math. And honestly, I'm horrible at math, but let's try this out. Okay, so it says 30 miles. All right, so we are going to set grid cell distance. Let's set that to, actually let's set that to 60. I think my math is close there. Okay, my math is super wrong. All right. Forgive me. Mea culpa. We're going to set it to 30. Oh, we're almost there. We're almost there. And you can zhuzh this however you want. You can zhuzh it with the cell width, but let's set this to, let's see, we were just a little bit, so let's say 27. Does that get us there? Am I going the right direction? I told you I'm bad at math. How am I working in software when I'm bad at math? We're going the wrong way. Okay, I need to go the other way. So we're going to set it to 33. Oh, guys, we're so close. You know what? That's good enough. That's good enough. But look, this is what you can do now. Is if you have a party that's trying to travel long distances, one thing I want to fix. We're going to turn the we're going to turn the grid off. So you saw how it was snapping? Yeah. If we turn the grid off, you don't see the grid, and look what you can do. You can say, oh, it's about 82 miles from Corvosa to Palin's Cove. It's about 217 miles to Whistledown, and on and on. So you still maintain a lot of that functionality from tokens, but how cool is that? How cool is that? You can mess with it. Players on these big maps can see how far they want to go, and you know, it's just, I'm just really happy with that functionality. So what do you guys think? Please leave any tips you might have in the comments below. If this was really helpful for you, please like and subscribe to my content. I finally have figured out a way for me to upload more regularly, and it's with this more casual style. So I can't wait to show you some more tips to unlock your Roll20 DMing and game experience. So stick with me and we'll get there. And it'll be an adventure. Johnny!